I'm Saboohi. I work at the Social Innovation Partnership at TSIP as Head of Social Innovation Lab. TSIP connects and collaborates with people and organisations to inspire ourselves to reimagine a fairer society with communities in the lead and user voices front and centre. I'll be talking today about our community-led, co-designed community-led funding model, the Giving Lab. Well, TSIP co-designed and hosts the Giving Lab, which is a community-led fund that brings together people and organisations and businesses in West Central Southwark to share and develop ideas for improving community health. It's supported by Impact on Urban Health, which is part of Guy's and St Thomas's, NHS Foundation Trust and Wellcome Trust. User Voice is about centering people who have experienced social issues firsthand and groups that are likely to be disproportionately affected, and focusing on the issues that reinforce inequalities and injustices. And to do that, we need to make sure that the voices of the individuals are front and centre, and as experts by experience. And we also need to make sure that we're constantly working towards shifting the power balance with user voices in the lead, as well as investing in recognising, nurturing and increasing users' agency, their power and their leadership. A participatory approach centres around the ethos that the people who are most affected by decisions have a right to make those decisions. TSIP use their technical expertise in human-centred co-design, which is a technique of problem solving that puts users' needs at the centre of a design process so that the service is tailored to their needs. And we use that approach to design and develop a citizen-led funding model in Walworth. Our aim was to facilitate the establishment of a model that increases community agency in funding decisions specifically. We spent about a year and a half building trust, building credibility, and developing deep ties with the community. Walworth is a ward in the London Borough of Southwark. This was always supposed to be a place-based fund. We looked at Southwark, and Walworth happens to be one of the most deprived wards with some of the highest health inequalities. And so user voice practice is in everything we do. It's the foundation of our organisation's impact. We specialise in participatory approaches to research and evaluation, and our co-design services support funders and service providers to put users at the centre of their design and delivery. Now, although user voice practice is embedded in our approach, we continue to challenge ourselves so that we can find more effective ways to amplify user voice in an authentic and meaningful way. Is that we recently brokered a partnership to support our communities to tell their own stories by training them to be community reporters. It's very easy to overlook the fact that storytellers spend years honing their skill. So to expect communities to tell their own stories in a way that lands with their audience can set them up to fail, especially if they don't have the right support. Some of the challenges are not being open-minded enough and not being prepared to be challenged in what you believe, to be open to unlearning and relearning what you think. You may actually be part of the problem. Your social conditioning and the way you've been taught to think may not be conducive to communities opening up to you, especially if they feel that you're going to judge them. And so it's incredibly important to ensure that people with the right lived experience are actually at the heart of practicing and embedding user voice practices within your organisation. Another challenge is not demonstrating enough empathy because you're not acknowledging your privilege. Acknowledging your privilege can lead to the much needed humility to accept that what communities put forward can actually be better. Building trust doesn't happen overnight. A really key part of our trust building happens during the co-design process. During co-design, you're not entering a room with preconceived ideas of what the community needs, but rather you're going in with a blank canvas so you can co-design together. Also, sharing failures and successes is also really key to building trust. It helps to break down the perception that one party is perfect, and it also encourages others to share any concerns or challenges they may have. Lastly, the topic of power has been a central theme in all of our conversations with the community within the Giving Lab, and that's been helped by using an independent learning partner. Our governance model was also specifically designed with power sharing in mind, with clear recognition of accountability and relationships that all of the stakeholders hold. And from the outset, we were acutely aware of macro power imbalances between the funder and the community, between TSIP and the community, but we've also had to work really hard to recognise the power imbalances that are created through a community funding model on a micro level, those that play out within communities. Listening to understand, to deeply and genuinely understand, is incredibly hard to do. It requires you to think carefully about your response. It is better to ask questions to clarify your understanding than to respond assuming you've understood, because your social conditioning, your biases, your prejudices can very easily be shown in the way that you respond. Also, what we think are important issues for our user voice programme to address may not be important to communities, and what you think is unimportant or insignificant may actually be critically important for communities. If you don't acknowledge and address what is important from users' perspectives, that could lead you to losing trust and loyalty. And lastly, deep and meaningful user voice approaches can be transformative for everyone involved. And if more of us use these approaches collectively, this has the potential to shift a system and create one that's more equitable, more fair, and more just. The first is, if you're not being challenged, then you're not doing it right. Sit with the discomfort, learn from it, and work through it, and it will lead to a truly enriching experience. The second thing is, invest time, effort, and resources to get it right. As long as you're genuine and open to learning, and open to being challenged, and that you accept that you may get it wrong. But if you learn from it, if you acknowledge it, if you fix it, and you move forward, you'll build credibility with the community. But if it's a quick tick box exercise, your users will know it, and you'll lose respect and credibility fast. We all know that inequality has grown globally, and income inequality has risen sharply, especially in the most advanced economies. That is a dire indication of how the system has failed to work for everyone. Social investors are in a unique position to push the dial forward and address this, and embedding user voice practices into the social investment world is the only way. By increasing participation, that will lead to shifting mindsets, and in turn that will help to redistribute funding to those who need it the most. And lastly, I'd say it's really important to understand that shifting power in this way does not relinquish your power. It amplifies it. If you are at the forefront of changing hearts and minds, that is the most powerful thing you can do to create a more just and equitable world that works for everyone.